before I'm 0 degrees. Wait till you can't manage this, can't break this bar funded. Gotta keep my distance when you not 100. Those the same ones say they love you, they funny. You can't match my energy, and yeah, you know it. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Yes, I meant it, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Yeah, I'm killing it, I'm the realest. Ain't gotta say, gotta know you feel it. My flow got a cold and sick as the illest. I know that I'm great and they about to witness me going in. I went way up, about to go again. You see me on the telly, then you tell a friend. Cause you know I'm about to rain, it'll never end. This fat got big dreams, big goals, never settle, gotta keep on going now. You say you got it, and I'm Red Bull, I got the wings and I ain't coming down. I keep it straight, every line is so intentional. This is your moment to let it go. You know that I'm into them way too cold. You can't manage this, can't break this bar funded. Gotta keep my distance when you not 100. Those the same ones say they love you, they funny. You can't match my energy, and yeah, you know it. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Way too cold, yeah, man, I'm way too cold. Yes, I meant it, yeah, man, I'm way too cold.
Our Endless Summer event is your savings paradise with outstanding offers at Capital Ford in Santa Fe. Like a new Ford F-150 STX, it's a summer buy for $699 a month plus 4.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or get summer savings on a new 2025 Ford Bronco with 0% APR for 48 months. Your summer of savings is right here, right now, during our Endless Summer event, going on now at Capital Ford in
Hey, welcome back to another live episode of the Pit Press Live. My name is Eric Moulton, your host for tonight. I'm joined by the one and only Nick Nunez. Nick, how you doing this evening, man?
Eric, good evening. I know you guys are fresh off your Mountain West coverage at Mountain West Media Days for football last week. You guys did a heck of a job, and it's good to see you back in the Duke City.
Yeah, glad to be back. Vegas was a lot of fun. I thought we interviewed a lot of cool people. I had a good time getting one-on-one with a lot of the head coaches, talked to some student athletes, had a chance to talk with Gloria Navarez here and there, jam-packed. But I was happy that we were able to be joined by Coach Jason Eck, Gabriel Lopez, and Richard Pierce of New Mexico. We can probably get into it a little bit later, but I know that you got kind of a long list of items to get to on tonight's show. I know we'll be joined by Alyssa and Joana from the women's Lobo basketball team, and Greg Brown, Volcano Vista boys basketball head coach, will be joining you and your dad, Ed Nunez, later this evening about 8:45 or so. But don't want to steal any of your thunder. I'll hand it right back.
Awesome, man. Yeah, for sure. Excited to speak with Joana Magalhães and Alyssa Hargrove tonight from the UNM women's basketball team. Both significant contributors for UNM women's basketball last year. Magalhães is a sophomore guard who was named to the All-Mountain West freshman team. Last year, she averaged about 7.1 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists. And Alyssa Hargrove, the graduate senior guard who finished second in the Mountain West Conference with 5 assists per game. She also averaged 8.3 points per game and nearly 4 rebounds. So looking forward to talking to them tonight. And then, yeah, Eric, there's been some news, some Lobo news. Few things happened today. There's some news in everybody's favorite topic, the law and college sports. So happy to get into those if you'd like me to, man.
Yeah, give me the rundown. I know there was some news out today with NIL specifically, and them kind of loosening the noose a little bit on some of the regulations and letting the collectives be able to pay the athletes more outside of what the business analytics of NIL and how you can pay players now. But I'll let you kind of get into it.
Yeah, we'll take it from there. Today, Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reports that attorneys have resolved the dispute over how the College Sports Commission will handle NIL third-party NIL deals. Last week, the College Sports Commission announced guidelines for what NIL deals would be considered a valid business purpose. And really, it was about the entities that are paying these NIL deals. Traditionally, NIL collectives, everyone's familiar with 505 Sports Venture Foundation. They've been the collective for UNM sports for the last 3 years. The new rules that were set in place basically said that if an entity like 505 Sports Venture exists solely for the purpose of creating benefits and paying student athletes, well, that's not considered a valid business purpose, and therefore any NIL deal that is made between the NIL collective and the student would not be considered valid. And that comes from the College Sports Commission. That's an arm of the NCAA, mostly the Power Four conferences. That is designed to regulate third-party NIL deals. They changed the rules last week, and then attorneys in the House settlement case for the plaintiffs and then also for the NCAA have been negotiating. And Ross Dellinger reported today that the College Sports Commission is expected to treat collectives or any school-associated entity in a similar fashion as any other business when determining the legitimacy of third-party NIL deals. So it sounds like things have been resolved there, Eric, and I think that's great, man. That's great for college athletes.
It's great for college athletes. I think it's good for the survival of the 505 Sports Venture Foundation. Kurt Roth, who's been really active in the community, kind of laying some of the groundwork, a lot of the grassroots connections, and they're not absorbing. I know across the country, a lot of those collectives kind of were absorbed into different alliances and letting the universities and the athletic programs kind of consolidate everything, and they were paying athletes directly. For them to coexist is a big deal, and I know something that Kurt Roth was pushing for. But enough of that. Before we get to our next two guests who are waiting patiently backstage, I do want to let the listeners and viewers know that all of the interviews that we conducted in Las Vegas at the 2025 Mountain West Football Media Days, are going to be uploaded and live on our YouTube channel. We'll also have some audio versions available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your audio podcast. So far, we've released a one-on-one interview with Jason Eck and the head coach of the UNLV Rebels, Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen had a really interesting conversation with us. His ties to UNM dating all the way back to the early 2000s, coaching against Rocky Long. If you hadn't had a chance to watch it, I would definitely go check it out. Also check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. But without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring our guests, Alyssa and Joanna, on backstage.
Hi.
Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Alyssa, Joanna, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Let's just get right into the questions. We'll start with Alyssa. Alyssa, big contributor last year. You started all 32 games. Last year's team finishes 18-14, fourth in Mountain West Conference regular season play. Some highs and some lows. Started conference play 4-0, had a 5-game losing streak kind of towards the middle of the conference season, and then won 5 of your guys' last 7. How did you feel about how last season ended, and what can you guys build on to take the next step this season and compete for a conference championship?
Yeah, so I didn't feel the best about how last season ended. I don't think any of us did, but I think with a core 6 of us returning from that last year's team, I think we took a lot of valuable lessons from that experience, and we kind of learned what we need to do. And I think just we can build on those people coming back, as well as, just building on what we've already been doing and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And then one more question for you, Alyssa, then I may throw it to Eric to see if he has any questions. But you led the team in assists last season, averaged nearly 5 assists per game. And I think I watched a little bit of you guys when you guys played UNLV at home after you had won 4 in a row. You just see the floor really well. How do you see your playmaking abilities helping the team next year, and how can you continue to impact the game as a facilitator?
Yes, well, thank you. I just think we'll be really fast and athletic this year. So I think just getting up and down the floor, I'll be able to play make just in transition a lot like I did last year, but just maybe even more. I think as well with just this team, we have a lot of shooters and people who can score and attack. So I think it'll open lanes for me. And then also when people come over to help, I can just be myself and create like I have been.
Eric, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, this question's for Joanna. Again, guys, thanks for joining us this evening on short notice. But podcasting is a big deal now. I think a lot of people are wanting to know and get to reach you guys, find out a little bit more about you, the culture kind of behind the scenes with women's Lobo basketball. But Coach Bradbury went on the Lobo pod, I want to say about a week ago, and he talked about the importance of building a strong culture. To you guys that are living that culture every day, can you kind of let the listeners and the viewers know more so what that culture means to you and how you guys continue to build on obviously last year, but looking ahead to this year?
I mean, we have like a lot of players to different countries. That's already have like a lot. We just like grab the qualities from each player, and the weakness points, we just like make them assets, and then we just join in and we make a great team. That's, I feel like, our culture, like going to Portugal, Spain, Angola, like, and America, like everything together is just a good basketball game to watch. Like it's good to watch that game.
Yeah. How do you feel like your guys' game is evolving, bringing so many different cultures and different styles of basketball from around the world? Because everyone has a different style of play. And being able to cultivate it into one team, do you think that gives you guys an advantage on maybe not kind of letting the scouts kind of know how you guys play, but trying to formulate a consistency within your team culture?
Okay. I mean, for sure. Like, it's always hard having different players with different qualities. Like, it's hard to play defense with them. Like, when we got all those points, like all those qualities together, it's hard to play. like we are all a threat, and that's hard to play defense. So yeah, for sure, I think it's going to be hard maybe to people scouting us because we're just different, but we know each other, so it's just going to be good.
How were you introduced to the Lobo basketball program? Can you walk us through how Coach Bradbury or maybe the coaching staff was kind of reaching out to you? And then Alyssa, I'll give you the same question right after.
Okay, so again, like my dream was always being here, coming here to America, play college ball, and I have like my agents, Carlos Andrade and Rachel Gallingham. They helped me talking with the UNM. So we start talking. We make our visit here. I came here my first time in America. And since I saw the pit, I was just like, yeah, I want to be here. Like I fell in love with the environment here, like with the vibe. Like I loved it. And some like I didn't met a lot of players there that we were gonna play like last season, but the players who were already here, like Laura, Ulda, V, they and Paris, like they welcomed me with open arms, and it was really good. Like this journey that I have and how he started.
Yeah, Alyssa, how was your experience?
Yes, my experience was a little different because I was in the transfer portal. So coming from Austin P, I was just looking for somewhere I could find my like last place to spend my year because I didn't know I would get this extra year back. So I was just looking for a good culture, a good fit, place where I could play my style. So Coach Keith reached out to me in the portal and I started talking to him. And then I started talking to Coach Mack as well. And I just felt the energy, like Coach Keith's a great guy. He knows how to talk and just make you see things about yourself. Like he definitely learns a lot about a player before recruiting them. So he knows how to talk to you and kind of like get you to see like what he sees in you or almost like that way. So yeah. And then I did a online visit, like a Zoom, so that, and like they showed me the campus and where we'd be living and everything. And I just fell in love too. And as well, I also had Clarissa Craig, my teammate. I played AAU with her back in like 8th grade. So I've known her for a while and she committed before me. So kind of seeing her, and she went on a visit. So it's knowing she fit, like loved the culture and the coaches and like it was a good fit for her. I felt like being here with her, like we could have a good time together.
Alyssa, Joana, I got a hand sanitizer question for both of you. Coach Bradbury was on the Lobo Pod, as Eric mentioned, a couple weeks ago, and then I think it was Coach McClure asked him or was talking to him about the, quote, insane amounts of hand sanitizer that he uses. Is this like something where, you know, he's got hand sanitizer at practice, or how have you guys observed that, if you can answer?
I mean, you kind of just made me realize that because I really never did, because our photographer was saying how he never like passes the ball back to us. Like if a loose ball goes somewhere, he never passes it. He kicks it.
Yeah,
he kicks it.
That's
so I was like,
true.
That just made me real. I just thought he just did it for fun.
He did it today for me.
But yeah, he just kicks it because for his hands. But that's funny. I never realized.
Yeah, well, maybe we can request an open practice so we could see Coach Bradbury out there kicking the ball and get some shots of that. Yeah. Alyssa, I wanted to ask you a little bit about some of the newcomers this year. You know, Cassia Antonio, second team All-American player from New Mexico Junior College. You guys added Jesse Joaquim, a 6'2" post from Coach Cheese College, who averaged 6.2 points and 6 rebounds per game. Then a couple exciting freshmen, Kaya Foster and Tyler Jones. What can you tell us about what you've seen from the new players and what they add to this year's team?
Yeah, it's just they're all athletic, can shoot. It's been honestly crazy seeing their adjustment, especially the freshmen. I just feel like coming into college, it's already a big adjustment, but just seeing how much the coaches have thrown at them and just everything that they've learned. They basically learned our whole offense almost. So just seeing that and how quick they've adjusted and just learned everything, it just shows their IQ and how like just dedicated they are to getting better and bettering the team. I think Cassia as well, she brings a lot of playmaking. She's a smart player and she's fast, she's athletic, she can defend, block shots. it's just all around. We have great players. Jessie and Emma bring great size down in the post, learning behind Clarissa, who can be a great leader for them. I just think it's a perfect fit for all of them.
Alyssa, talk to us a little bit about Clarissa Craig. I think you just said that you played AAU basketball with her. A lot of Lobo fans were excited to what she would bring to the table last season. I know she got hurt at the beginning of the year, but what kind of inside presence does she bring to the team that you guys did not have last year?
Yes, I'm very excited about this. I just think Clarissa's a dog, so she's going to fight for positioning. She's going to get the positioning. She's going to seal up right in front of the post, and I think she's going to demand for the ball. She can also play both sides of the ball. I think she's going to play great defense. It'll be a scary inside presence for a lot of people, I think, going in there to go up against her just contesting or trying to block their shot, as well as she's going to pursue every rebound, whether it's offensively, defensively. I think it'll be just an overall like crazy turnaround from last year, almost like having a dominant big in there.
Joana, I got one more for you, then I'll throw it back to Eric. You're from Lisbon, Portugal, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing some of your names, Joana.
You're good. I understand it.
Okay. And then you played at Quinta do Marquis, where you won a national championship. Tell us about what your experience was like playing basketball in Portugal, and how did that help prepare you for playing Division I college basketball at UNM?
Well, again, from like my club, like I learned my own personality there. And it helped me here because one thing that I understand in American basketball college is just like you cannot be feared. Like you cannot be scared. You have to make a stand. Like you have to make your presence there. People have to notice you so they can be threatened of you. And I was always like a person who's in the floor really like likes to lead, is feisty, that is always like make a mark, you know? So that's literally like what helped me to play Division I basketball here.
Yep. Hey guys, so part of the non-conference basketball schedule has been released, and it's an attractive one. Going to be extremely competitive. 4 power schools have been added to your guys' schedule this year. Houston and Texas Tech will come and play at the Pit this season, and then you guys will also travel to Colorado and Arizona. Alyssa, I'll hand over the first question to you, but how excited are you to play that competitive of programs kind of around the country?
I'm honestly very excited with it being my last year, especially to be able to play some of those big names and just maybe even put our name even more on the map is just a great opportunity for us. And I'm very excited for it, no matter the outcome.
And then Joana, what do you think playing schools like that does for a program like the University of New Mexico?
It's a blast for sure. Like being in my sophomore year and playing already with schools, the big schools with great players, it's just like it makes you want to get better and better, like learn from those games, learn from those people that you're playing and just get better. And that's literally like a good thing to have, like a good non-conference, like good and hard, you know, like just to be prepared and to play to our conference is going to help us a lot.
Yeah, and then I'll have one more question, then I'll hand it back over to Nick. But this is more of a community-based question. I have 2 young nieces, and they're very active in the AAU scene, especially in Albuquerque. And I think they've run into you guys at multiple gyms. You guys are really active at attending those tournaments, connecting with fans and young girls around the state of New Mexico. What does that make you feel like to be able to have these young girls look up to you guys like you guys are celebrities, and especially for them to remember you when you guys talk to them at the games?
Yeah, it's honestly crazy because I just remember being in their shoes because I grew up in Ohio, so I used to be a big UD fan. So I just remember those basketball players I was obsessed with, and just being able to be that person for somebody and like reach them and talk to them and see them at team camp and just hang out with them. And it's just honestly incredible to be able to like inspire them and show them that they can do this as well.
Yeah, Joanna, I'll ask you the same question.
Is literally what she said, like just being like an idol, like a person that they want to follow, like, and just be able to make a good like impression to them is already good. Like I never had a lot of these fans that love basketball, and me just to see this, it makes me so happy that I can help someone to chase their dream.
Nick.
Yeah, this question is for both of you guys. And Joanna, I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but the experience of playing in the pit, I think UNM women's basketball led the Mountain West Conference in home attendance last season. You guys usually get pretty good crowds. I think maybe your biggest crowd was against UNLV at home. But what was your guys' favorite memory playing in the pit last season that you can remember?
My favorite game was against Boise State when we were in a streak, a 5-6 game losing streak, and the game was like hard. Like it was not just a simple game. It was like a fighting game. Like you have to want it to win it. And just as to go to overtime and be down the score, be up the score, all these changes, and then the last like fighting into the last second to win. It was like achievement to the team just to like see what we can do when we down or when we up, like to see that we're going to be all together and we're not going to give up until the last second of the game.
Alyssa, same question for you.
Yeah, I would also have to say I think it was one of our last games against Air Force. I think the pit was also packed out probably just as much as it was against UNLV, but just that environment was just amazing to be in, just the support. It felt amazing in that last game before we went off to tournament.
Yeah, and then Alyssa, can you talk about kind of how the crowd helps you, right? I mean, you play in front of a lot of people, they pump you up, kind of helps you on the defensive end, generate pressure. Like, what kind of benefit does it to have a packed pit for Lobo women's basketball games?
Yeah, it's the best benefit. I think nobody wants to play in, I mean, of course you want to play in a packed gym, but I don't think you want to be the opposing team in that packed gym because it's a lot of pressure in those moments and being heckled and booed at and everything. But I think the advantage for us is just hearing that support. I think a lot of times when I'd hustled for defensive plays or something, I'd hear those fans that sit on the sideline just be like, "Good hustle, number 4." Like those little moments like help you a lot, and just hearing that support all the time.
Yeah, and then last question I got, I'll throw it back to Eric to wrap it up. But you guys are wrapping up summer workouts for the summer. That's what you guys been doing the last 2 months. I think Coach Bradbury was saying on the Lobo Pod that you guys practice on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but you guys will be wrapping it up next week. Just kind of how have those been going these last 2 months?
It'd be going good. Like Alyssa said when we were talking about the freshmen cutting up like all the offense, like we already had like a bunch of things that we didn't have like until like conference time. So like just be able to do all that, introduce our offense, playing good D, we playing really good D. It's just like it's good so we can be ready to the first games in the season.
I will also add on that we have been playing a lot. We play a lot of 5-on-5, 1-on-1 throughout the whole practice. So I think it gives you a lot of confidence to be a scorer and also just playing with each other. It gives a lot of chemistry, team chemistry. It's giving us that earlier than maybe we would have gotten it later in the season.
Okay, guys, so I got 2 more questions. One is kind of like a 2-ended question, and the last one's more of a fun question. But the first question is, I know that you guys are kind of prepping for this upcoming season. I know that a lot of you are new, spending a lot of time off the court together. But on the court, what is this team's identity going to look like come that first game in your mind? If you had to give it one word, what defines this team? What's the identity?
Oh,
That's a good
tip.
I would say scrappy, because I do think on both ends of the court we will be scrappy, fighting for the ball. We're very aggressive. I've noted we're very aggressive in the way we're playing this year. So I think just we'll be everywhere. Even just more than last year.
For sure. We like all of us we are all a dog. Like we're gonna fight for every ball, every second, everything.
Well, I think that's what Lobo fans, and especially Lobo fans in the pit, like to cheer for. And that one last question, this one's more of a fun one, but which person on the team controls the aux cord the most in the locker room? And what would you give them a rating on of a 1 to 10 in terms of music selection?
I feel it's Clarissa. Clarissa always puts the aux.
Clarissa or Destiny. I'm gonna get, if we had to rate Clarissa, she likes NBA YoungBoy, which I'm not a huge fan of. So that's all she wants to play. So I give her like a 5 out of 10. But if it's Destiny, she gets like a 8, 9.
She gets a good 8.5.
She plays like
sure.
good vibes.
Yes, like music that everybody knows.
Yeah, like a good spectrum.
Because when Clarissa put those songs, I feel like, damn, like I'm from Portugal. I don't know these songs.
It's
I don't know
like
who
rapping. We don't need that unless it's like pregame hype.
Yes.
Big shoes to fill, Clarissa. Shout out on the Pit Press Live. Alyssa, Joanna, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening on short notice. Also, we want to thank Allison Weiss for helping us arrange this. We saw her at the Mountain West Football Media Days. Nick.
Oh, I don't think I have any other questions for you guys. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys coming on. Wish you guys the best of luck next season, and we can't wait to cover some of your guys' games next year.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll be reaching out. Good luck this year, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Our endless summer event is your savings paradise with outstanding offers at Capital Ford in Santa Fe. Like a new Ford F-150 STX, it's a summer buy for $699 a month plus 4.9% APR financing for 72 months. Or get summer savings on a new 2025 Ford Bronco with 0% APR for 48 months. Your summer of savings is right here, right now, during our endless summer event, going on now at Capital Ford in Santa Fe.
Hey, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Eric Moulton, joined by Nick Nunez, and behind the scenes, finally joined the show, Mr. Ed Nunez, voice of Western New Mexico and a Lobo fan since 1970. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. You guys did a good job with those two Lobo players, and it was good to hear their outlook. They've got a lot of new players coming in. They released their schedule in the paper the other day, and Coach Bradbury's had a lot of roster turnover the last couple of years, as every team has. So, I was kind of interested to see what their perspective is for next season. And I thought it was a great interview. I got to see them play a couple of times last year, sandwiched between UNM and Western. And so I was out at the pit a couple of times. I thought they had a good, entertaining product out there. So, again, he's bringing in – they mentioned they're going to have a true five in there in the middle, and they think that'll open up lanes and space. And I'm anxious to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think I'm most excited to see those two games against who was it, Texas Tech and Houston coming to the pit. I think that's going to be really exciting. I know the pit's going to be rocking. And yeah, to be number one in the Mountain West in attendance for the ladies is really impressive. And I think they carry that torch and they wear it proudly. But I'm curious to see how this team comes together. A lot of newcomers, a lot of foreign newcomers. Bradbury seems to have put together himself quite a team. And yeah, like kind of Alyssa was talking about, I'm hoping to see a scrappy team out there. I think that's what Lobo fans get excited for. I know, especially in the pit. But I've actually seen those girls out in the community, connecting with young girls around the state, putting on camps, visiting AAU tournaments, and really trying to be seen and connect to a lot of these young fans. So, Nick, what did you think?
Thought they were fantastic. This is a team that I think started off on the right foot in conference play last year. We mentioned they won their first 4 games. I think started 4-0 in conference, then lost at home to UNLV, and then kind of in the middle of conference play, they lost 5 in a row. Joanna talked about that a little bit. 3 of those games were in the pit. They return kind of a core nucleus of girls, Alyssa and Joanna being 2 of them. Destiny Hooks was also received all Mountain West honors last season for UNM women. I think this is Coach Bradbury's 9th year. Dad, you may know that, but it's somewhere around a decade. And, I think I listened to that Lobo Pod interview that was done by Nike McClure and Isaiah from the UNM women's basketball program. And he just talked about getting the culture right this year. He thinks he's got the culture right. And I think they've got some talented pieces. I mean, Alyssa averaged nearly 5 assists per game last year as a senior. Joanna was close to 5 rebounds. She's 5'5", scored in double figures, I think 11 times last year for Lobo women. Didn't get to see him a lot last year. But, Eric, I think we got to make an effort to get out to some Lobo women's games at the pit. That's exciting basketball, man. I think they're going to be a good team this year.
Yeah, well, I think we're dedicated to covering them more, especially from our platform, getting more players on to interview. I think we can reach out to Allison to get Bradbury on as well. We were out there for Mountain West basketball media days last fall. We were able to interview some of the women's team too. So you can definitely get that commitment from us. But Ed, I do want to kick it over to you and just kind of get your overall take. I know we had some time following the football media days in Vegas before our flight home. We did get delayed, but I wanted to get your take on how things went. The interviews that we conducted, I thought they were all very compelling in their own way. So what did you take away from Vegas?
I thought when we wrapped it all up, I thought, I was really proud because I think, Jeff Symbieta was there, but he wasn't representing 610. Channel 13, Brad Benson was out there. Channel 4 had, very limited coverage. So I was really proud of the coverage that we had as a media outlet there. We were there the whole 2 days, and we were able to get questions in on the podium. Eric, yourself, Jacob Neff, Ryan, and myself were able to ask a lot of questions inside at the podium, and so it was kind of different. And then the players, we got a few of them at our table, but more inside we saw the commissioner speak first. And then we started the round of interviews with the players. And I thought, and we said this, all the players are excited. They're 0-0. Everyone wants to hit somebody. There's optimism was very high with every team that we talked to. The Boise State coach, Spencer Danielson, a very humble guy for what he's accomplished. He came over to talk to us. Jay Norvell from Colorado State. We had Sean Lewis on from San Diego State, who coached with Deion Sanders. So I really enjoyed all those interviews. And then you guys interviewed Coach Mullen from UNLV, and that's a great get for the conference. So I think all the things that we did out there, I just wanted to give us time to say, hey, the pit press was there. The pit press provided coverage. And I think it's, a testament to you and Ryan about having this idea. You didn't know where it was going to go. And 2 years later, we're sitting there, at media days in Las Vegas, providing coverage, interviews. I enjoyed our interview with Coach Eck. I know he's, I read a good article in the paper today. Coach Chote from Nevada said he's very good with formations on the offensive and defensive lines, which is important. He coached Coach Chote had another offensive line coach when he coached in Nevada. So he didn't retain Coach Eck, but it turned out to be a better deal. So he was very complimentary of him in the paper. So I enjoyed it, Eric. I enjoyed what we did there. I was sorry that my son couldn't come. I really wanted him to be there. I really wanted him to experience that. But my son is a law star too, man. He's not only a writer, but he's a law star, and so I missed him not being there. But Eric, I thought you and I had some great conversations, man. We got to room together a little bit, and I know you, but I got to know you a little bit better. Know what you do and your family, and so I really enjoyed it, man. I really did. It was a great experience. And again, I just want to mention that the Pitt Press has provided a lot of coverage and will continue to provide some. And I don't think that's something that should be ignored. No offense against any media outlet in town. 610 does a great job, 1017. But hey, you know what? The Pitt Press is here. So we're here. We're not going anywhere. And I was real proud of what we did. Real proud.
Yeah, I think what I took away from that, especially with the interviews with Gabe Lopez, something really stood out to me. And then I'll get to Richard Pierce in a minute. But what team people, I guess your Lobo fan who might not have been following as close could point out that the defense wasn't as stout last year, but they were also not very deep at a lot of the positions, and one of those positions being on the defensive line. And Gabe Lopez made a pretty compelling comment in his interview on the Pitt Press that at his position on the on the edge there, they're 3 deep now. Last year, they were talking about having 3 defensive linemen having to rotate all game. Now they're 3 deep at every position. So you're talking about being able to repetitive, get after the quarterback, apply that pressure. They got a 330-pound dude up the middle now playing nose guard. His name is slipping my mind, but
Booker, I think.
And I think this defense might shock a lot of people, right? I know that you guys on previous episodes, I know Ryan has talked about it. Jackson Eck being one of them. Some of the guys in the secondary, all transferring from FCS programs, but were leaders and winners on those teams before. So all of a sudden, this defense has a ton of experience, a ton of playing time, guys that know how to get it done, and they're deeper at every position. I think the depth is being a little undervalued in my mind, and I think shouldn't be overlooked, because that is what's going to help this team get over that hump. It's going to help them stay into games. And last year, let's face it, I think Devin Dampier probably won them 3, 4, maybe 5 games simply by just being able to create things out of nothing. And this team's not going to have to score 45, 50, 55 points a game anymore, not if the defense shows up. So just kind of my 2 cents there. And then going to Richard Pierce's comments, he was excited, man. He was amped. He'd been with this program a few years, been through different head coaches, but he's excited to have that 4-headed monster in the backfield, man. He was calling those guys out by name. Like, he was really excited. Obviously, the one that stands out the most is Scott Trey Humphrey. But you look at guys like Deshaun Buchanan. He transferred from Idaho with Eck. DJ McKinney was a Sam Houston State transfer. He was freshman of the year in Conference USA last year. And then Damon Bankston is kind of that lightning in a bottle from Weber State. So all of a sudden you go from having I just spaced his name from last year, Eli Sanders, having that one running back who you can constantly rely on. Now you have 4 guys in the backfield, and they all kind of bring a different kind of game, right? You have the guys that can get out on the edge. You got the guys that get him in space, and then you got the power up the middle. So just hearing Richard Pierce talk about those guys and the excitement, they just want to get out on the field and start competing with them. So I don't know. I think a lot is still to be determined, but I was excited to get to talk with some of these guys, excited to talk to Eck, and really cool to talk with the other head coaches around the Mountain West. I think all really, really impressive human beings.
Yeah, they were optimistic too. And you mentioned it. I think I'm excited about the offensive line. The question we have, and we asked Coach Eck, is at the quarterback position now. He said Jack Lane didn't throw in the spring, and he mentioned the backup quarterback, James. I can't pronounce his last name, but he said he had a good spring. And he wasn't ready to commit to Jack Lane. He trusts Jack Lane, though. And I'd be surprised if Jack Lane wasn't the starter. But there's the question there. There's a question at the court. We don't know. Jack Lane is a game manager. He's not and Coach Eck said that he's good with the reads. He's got an average speed on the RPOs. So I think that's something we don't know. But I think there is reasons, but I've got to say this. We mentioned this: Michigan, Idaho State, and then UCLA. The schedule: San Jose State, Boise State. Those, there's UNLV. There's some tough teams on that schedule. So, but I am excited. I think what I read today too, that another coach said is power running game. And you mentioned Bankston and Scott Humphrey, who I think is underrated as a transfer coming here. And I remember reading in the paper, I'm like, man, how did they land that dude? That's the first question I said to myself. So I think that's being underrated because it's UNM, because they don't have a winning culture. And it's going to take work to change that culture. Let's be honest, and that doesn't mean I don't want to see them do it, but it's going to take some work. And I think Coach Eck is a great guy. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to do on the field. And hopefully, I've been thinking about this in my head. Will the fans come back? And I hope that they do.
Yeah, I think we need the fans back. We need the pageantry back. We need the tailgate Saturdays back. I think all of it is about getting the families out there and putting on a show, not just on the field, but having a place for fans to be proud of their logos. But I don't want to keep our guests waiting behind stage. Guys, Ed, Nick, it was nice chatting with you. I'm going to hand it over to you to get to our next guest.
What's up?
Coach Greg Brown, 6-time state champion head coach, coming off a 4-peat this year where you defeated Sandia in the 5A state championship. Coach, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you for joining us on the Pit Press Live.
Hi, Nick. Hi, Ed. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, well, Coach, wanted to recap the state championship game last year. I know it's kind of been a while since that happened. It was back in March, but man, what a phenomenal game. My dad and I had courtside seats down there right in the middle of the pit floor, and just watching that back and forth game, man. Now that you've had some time to digest it, tell us how you feel.
Yeah, it was a great game. I credit obviously to Sandia. Third time we played them, leading to that state championship game. And we obviously felt like we were the favorite, and going into that game that we had some things that were of an advantage to us. But I just credit to them. They played well. They had a great game plan. When I went back to watch the game, I was concerned. I was like, man, did we tighten up? Because that was uncharacteristic of this team. Usually our guys rose to the occasion. And I was like, why did that game feel and seem so different? And so when I rewatched the game, I saw Sandia really playing on their toes. I didn't think we played on our heels. I thought that we just were playing against a very determined team. Mm-hmm. Had a 9-point lead late in the fourth, and really thought that at that time it was going to be our game. And what ended up happening was Sandia ended up, getting on the glass and hitting some threes, and really their senior stepped up. But as you guys know, you saw the end of the game. Zay Brown had that shot at it, and it was surreal when that ball was in the air, only to hit the back of the rim, and and for us to go into overtime. And once we got into overtime and Ryan hit that corner three, it just felt we kind of breathed a sigh of relief and kind of got going again, and we're able to close out the game. But great game. Obviously Sandia was super prepared, obviously well coached, fun championship game.
I've been there when you and Danny have coached against each other, even officiated a game one time when you were at Manzano and Danny was at Highland. That went down to the last second, man. I don't know if you remember, to go to state, and that little controversial call, but thank God I was on the other end of that. I remember Danny came up to me the next night. What are we looking at? And I'm like, Coach, I wasn't even there, man. I wasn't there, man. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's when your mom had that Highland Manzano shirt, that she wore. And, but it was funny because Danny, I think you said to me that, and my son and I, again, great seats. When that shot went up, everybody held their breath, right? Everybody held their breath. buzzer goes off. Everybody's like, oh, man. And then you had said that Danny was on the way down to shake your hand, man. He was on the way down to shake your hand. He thought that was it. And, Zay can, man, the kid can shoot for 25 to 30, right? And shaking, get some
too close to the line. Yeah.
Oh man, that shot was right on line. And I know and then you got the drama of the buzzer. You were right there on the floor, and just a great final. But I think determination sometimes, coach, is and that's what Sandia was, very determined. It's your brother. You guys, you know what? And I got to say this too, that I've known you a long time, and now I've gotten to know your sister, Sean, a little bit more because we serve on the New Mexico Sports Hall of Fame board together, and I got to sit next to your family at the gala, which was a couple weeks ago. Your Uncle Marty actually came up to me, man, and said that your grandmother thought I was a good student. I was like, man, that floored me because that was nice of him to say that. I hadn't seen Uncle Marty in a long time, and I felt a little closer to your family after getting to see the way your family is. I talked to your sister about you, and she'll give you guys the business, man, because she can, right? Because that's what your family does. But you love each other very, very much, man. There's that closeness. And even though, you beat your brother for the championship, there's that part of you that wants him to win one just as long as it's not against you. I understand that competitiveness, man. And my son and I really enjoyed that game. We really did. I'm going to turn back. You had a special group this year, Kenyon Owino, your son, Ryan Gonzalez, and Evan Nasilian. And you got a group of guys that won it's going to be a little bit of a change for Volcano next year. But, hey, you know what? 4 championships in a row. Your pop won 6, man. Won 6. And I told you, whenever I'd see you, I say, you know what? I don't know that we talk about that enough. It's hard enough to win one. I know some great coaches that have never won one that are friends of mine, man. They never won one. And so 4 in a row is very hard. What kind of years are going to be next year for Volcano?
Well, yeah, we have a new roster, but guys that were backups to these, this great lineup and these great seniors that we had last year. We are going to have to create our own identity. Probably going to be, more of the hunter, which is a better role for not a better. I mean, it's just a different role for us. We think Sandia is going to be very good again, as is Rio Rancho and Cleveland and Las Cruces. So we're going to be in the mix with those guys. But yeah, we have some guys. We do have 5 seniors who have waited their time, paid their dues, and now it's their time. And, and we've had a pretty good summer. We did well in state, went to Section 7 in Phoenix and didn't do as well. Ended up winning our last game, but took a couple losses out there, a few of them, played against some pretty physical teams. So we look forward to it. New challenge. Got some guys coming ready to go. I got to coach these guys a little different. Keep that bar high, but for different reasons, and the expectations are gonna. We talked about learning from loss. We might have some losses, some losses that we didn't have in the past. And so have an opportunity to really have some moments where we get to grow that way. So it's going to be interesting, going to be a fun year. Look forward to it.
Coach, wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about the New Mexico High School Coaches Association conference that was held last week at the Albuquerque Convention Center. UNM men's basketball coach Eric Olin spoke at the conference. James Yodis put the story out. You were quoted in it, Coach. Just tell us, what were your impressions of Coach Olin?
Yeah, I think I'm excited to learn from him and excited to see what he's going to bring to Lobo basketball. One of kind of a coach's coach, willing to share, easy to talk to, approachable, was very eloquent. Probably a better word is easy to listen to, the way he taught and explained offense and the system that he's putting in. It was well detailed, and you can see that he has a plan, and he's very confident in the plan that he has. It seems like he's recruited some guys that he likes, had a couple guys that came over from his previous job, and has some older guys. I think that's the key, is making sure you're old enough now. And it seems like he does, has shooters. So you got to be able to shoot if you want to play for him in the system. And so it's gonna be interesting. Looking forward to it.
Coach, give us some X's and O's a little bit. Coach Olin's offense, space and pace, move the ball. Guys just, setting screens, don't take the first shot or, just move it. Give us some X's and O's, though, as far as kind of what you saw from what he presented.
So the number one thing that I saw is space is very important to them. They're gonna really space the floor. A lot of 5 out. But with movement, he emphasized ball movement and player movement. Sometimes players like to stand, so he has ways of teaching the movement of the player. Then also the ball moving. He initiates his offense with some ball movement, and which is important because guarding movement and space within the movement is the hardest thing to do. His offense is predicated by ball screen. So bringing 2 together, and he has little packages and systems built into how the ball screen is being defended. And, and he has some reads, very simple reads of the 2 guys, really 3 guys involved in the ball screen, and then the 2 guys away from the ball, sometimes 3 away from the ball, and what they are doing predicated based on how the ball screen is being defended. So he took us through, different sets and different ball screens, whether it's on the side of the court or in the middle of the court, and the reads that everybody kind of has, and sometimes he talked about if you don't use the ball screen, what happens in the offense, if you fake like you're going to use it and you reject it. Has a plan for really everything, was able to really in an easy to understand way explain what their basic concepts are within that plan. And I think a lot of the coaches got a lot out of it.
Coach, a totally different way of playing. Okay, that Coach Patino had his way, a lot of ball screens, 2-man games, back to the basket. Coach Roy Sanchez mentioned that this offense is totally different. 5 out, not a lot of back to the basket, a lot of European style ball here. And I got to ask you this, David Quixote, who assists you with your big man over there, has done a wonderful job. We had him on Lobo Legend series about a year or so ago. Manzano assistant coach Dan Bachicha said he talked to David, and his terminology is just unbelievable. The same thing about actions and screens and things like that. Did you think Coach Olin has the same kind of philosophy? Does David have that same kind of philosophy about actions and ball screens? And because when I heard that, I thought Dan and I had a long talk about that, about David Quixote, who's very, very intelligent as far as analyzing basketball. Did you think they have the same kind of
Definitely. Just talked to David yesterday, and just told him a couple of the things that Coach Olin was doing, just because we're all basketball guys, and David was interested in what we got and some of the notes that I took. The biggest thing too is the terminology is pretty shared. It's pretty, David played in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the spacing and, the biggest thing that what these coaches, David and Coach Olin, don't want is they don't want lag. They don't want that ball and the players to stop. So these triggers and these actions keep the flow moving, keep the ball flowing, keep the offensive flow continuing. And so that's the biggest thing, is that the ball's here. Here's what happens to the post and the guard in this situation to keep the action rolling. They don't ever want the ball to be dribbled out and them to call out a post to come ball screen to reinitiate things. Now, there will be some set plays, but within the live play of the offense, they want these actions and these triggers and this flow. And it's a pretty way to play. It's a hard way to defend, hard offense to defend, because it's you're defending these actions that have a lot of different options to them.
A lot of trust in your players, and you have to have, I would think, some kind of high basketball IQ. He mentioned also guards, rim protection. Guards, they're going to shoot the three. They're going to launch a lot of them. He also mentioned in a previous article that on the back end, if you're pressing them, they will shoot threes on the press on the back end. So just, Coach, I got to say, we've known coaches. Nick played for Damian Segura, who I love to death. Damian called a lot of sets. And Travis Julian said one time that Coach Segura had 101 sets, man. Now, and that worked for Coach Segura. Won 4 championships, all the respect in the world, and he was quoted in this article as well in the paper. But this isn't a guy, Coach Olin, that's going to call Duke. And I reffed Ron Geyer's games plenty of times. Coach Geyer, Duke, Connecticut, Lobo. That's not going to be Coach Olin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's going to – I think the longer he has his players and the more time he has with them, you'll see it. Because the film he showed, he said, hey, this isn't moving great here. And he told us, hey, this is – we've only been together for a couple weeks. But, yeah, he does have sets, but he just prefers to have the offense flow because it's just super difficult to guard. But and then once these guys and then he went through some of the analytics, which is interesting. He's a smart guy, and so he broke down the numbers for us and what he's looking at and just how it increases their opportunity, their chance to win, when they're hitting these certain marks, and then he also said, hey, this also allows us to find some combinations, certain guys that seem like they play well together. So the analytics help him with that as well. And it helps to determine playing time and have these conversations with some of these guys. Here's why you're not playing is because look at your numbers here. We need to be a better, offensive rebounding team and defensive rebounding team. And here are your numbers at your position. They need to be here and, that type of thing. And so a lot of good stuff, and he, seemed very organized and took time out of recruiting and was able to, spend some time with us and never felt like he was stressed or in a hurry. And I asked him, I said, you seem like you smile all the time. Cause I got to watch him coach his team at San Diego. And he was in the first round of the national tournament because Kenyon, Montana was playing. So we all drove to Denver and watched Montana, but got to watch Coach Olin's team, San Diego, practice, and he just was enjoying the moment. I was just like, man, this guy, for a coach, man, this guy smiles a lot. He said he laughed at that. He said that he wasn't that way, especially during conference season because his team was expected to win the conference. He said I had some fake smile, but he said, but once we got to the tournament, man, it was icing on the cake. And he said it was his job to really take everything in, and he thought his players played better when he was kind of had that type of demeanor. But seems like, man, we're going to be able to learn a lot from him.
I'm going to turn this over to my son real quick, but a different, to me, kind of guy, unassuming, you kind of withdrawn a little bit. I mean, not the big ego, right? The big personality. And that's okay too. A lot of coaches have that. I just didn't see that with him. And I think, like you said, we're going to learn quite a bit under him. Go ahead, son.
We're speaking with 6-time state champion head coach for the Volcano Vista boys basketball team, Greg Brown. Coach, how much of what Coach Olin taught at the conference last week can translate into high school basketball and what you teach your guys?
Yeah. So we run a very, very similar offense. Our ball screen's a little bit more less central. He likes to kind of have their ball screens in the middle of the floor. We like to have our ball screen a little bit more on the wing, kind of the slot position, just for spacing for us. It's just, but he likes it in the middle of the floor just because at that point you don't know who is help, like the hoop position defensively. So that's kind of takes away the whole defensive possession, the hoop defender, I should say. I think it's the spacing right now. Like if you're not running some form of this offense, you're behind. And there's still, a lot of high school coaches that do a great job and they'll run their flexes. And, Coach Benjamin at Crucis, he needs to do what he does because he knows how to teach the flex offense. And it's a pain to guard, Coach Segura has to continue to run some of those sets because, he's a proven winner with his set offenses, and they're super difficult to guard. But this is Coach Olin's style, and I think it does translate. I think you got to simplify it for some of your guys. But really it is pretty simple, especially the way he explained it.
Coach, while we're talking about offense, I just got to ask you, you had the 3-time Gatorade Player of the Year, Kenyon Owino, and he was so versatile. He could do so many things. He could play on the perimeter. He could play inside. Just talk about the different ways that you were able to use him over his 4-year career.
Yeah, we used him everywhere. I mean, you guys saw that. I mean, he helped us break a press and he helped us initiate some offense, but everything kind of went through him in the center of the floor. He was our joker, for Denver. He was that guy. And he got people shots and he got himself shots when he needed to, and our shooters weren't feeling great. He had him and Hudson and Ryan had an ability to just adapt and adjust to many situations. So the more coaching we did, it wasn't the best for them. They needed to be put in situations just to, especially when those three are on the side of the floor. They call it zoom action. You have this dribble over ball screen, and we had Ryan, Hud, and Kenyon in a 3-man game, and then we had athletes or shooters on the other side of the floor. And man, it was so fun to coach just because you got to had to manage them, instead of coach them or overcoach them. I had to keep them healthy and keep them happy and just get them to the game, and sharpen things up in practice and ask for their opinions. What'd you see? What'd you feel here? It was like coaching a college team, And then when the time was at the hardest against Sandia in the pit, or, when we played some of those teams in Phoenix, our guys knew how to settle into some of those key moments, those stressful moments as well. So special team, man, unique bunch. We're going to miss them all.
Coach, yeah, no, you're not kidding. That was a very, very special bunch. And I sure enjoyed that championship game and watching your team when I got a chance when I was in town and I wasn't in Silver City. But, yeah, there's always challenges. And I think your explanation of Coach, what fans can expect from Coach Olin, it's exciting. It's a whole roster turnover, man. Coach Pitino's gone. He won 20 games 3 years in a row. And you and I both know, you've been around here a long time. Lobo fans expect a smooth baton pass to keep running, man, and the same speed. And it's going to be some divots in the road, man. They're going to have to be patient. But I think with the way you explain it, you've been around. Coach, I remember when you were an assistant at Academy, man, giving me the business from the bench. I still remember that when you had your suit on. One time I had to tell Joe Coleman, man, Joe, who was an assistant too, right? If you come off the bench, man, we're going to have a problem. Because, Joe.
Coaches, man.
Oh, God. So I remember you from that long ago, man. Got a lot of basketball experience. You and your brother Danny are always trying to up the game, trying to get better, trying to learn. And every coach that I read, Roy Sanchez, a friend of mine, Damian Segura, a friend, so you're all trying to learn and get better. And it's good. Some Lobo coaches haven't always been as accessible. Let's be honest. They haven't. So I think he's going to be there. And it's good for the community because they know he may try to recruit some more kids. There, Jeff Symbieta asked me at the gala when Kenyon went to the stage to get his award, how come he couldn't be a Lobo? And it's a legitimate question. It is. Kenyon is very talented. How do we let that one get away? And then he said that about Sydney. How do we let that? So he's just little comments in my ear here, but he's not wrong. So we're about to wrap this up, Coach. But I got to ask you this, and I don't want to be remiss in asking you. Tell us about the Papa Brown scholarship that helped so many people. It was a part of the gala there, and I want to apologize to you again. We messed it up. You were the 4-time champion, not the 3-time, and that kind of upset me. I was going to say something, but I don't want to step on anybody's toes. It meant something to me. 4's different than 3. It is, and you should be recognized for what you did. But tell us a little bit about the Papa Brown scholarship and how many kids how many kids it's been helping.
Well, thanks for allowing me to talk about the scholarship, and it is I believe 4 years now, and 4 years old. And before my dad passed, he wanted to make sure that, it was really my sister's idea, and and she spearheads everything, but wanted to honor kids, and have them. And we're like, how do you want to do it? And he said, let's have them write an essay. My dad was an English teacher, and an essay on leadership. And so, we honor, or we have 5 recipients every year, from $1,000 for the 5th place all the way to $5,000 for the 1st place award winner. We read, especially my sister and my mom, we read through these essays and kind of look at some of their references and their resumes. And they do need to be an APS student athlete. obviously in good standing. And so, man, we picked some good ones. Last year Volcano won that one too. We had a golfer. Actually, she was cross country track and awesome girl, and had a Matador in there, and had a Valley Viking as well, La Cueva Bear. We've had some good ones throughout the past years, and we stay in touch with them and have a website where pictures are taken, and we, acknowledge family members. But the coolest thing about it is just the, how people receive the award. It comes with a certain sense of, it feels like, an appreciation that it goes deep, just because of who my dad was and what these kids a lot of times stand for, and trying to be leaders in their community, and former or current athletes, and wanting to go on to college and doing special things. So it's been a blessing for us to be a part of. It does keep his legacy alive, which is so deserving. And, we're going to continue to wear that purple for sure.
Yeah, he was larger than life, man. He really was. I told you, I got to he coached me a little bit at Holy Ghost, and he coached my brother. And my brother's still in a way my hero, man. He's still, he's 5 years older than me. I always looked up to him. I still do. And my brother learned quite a lot from your father, man. He did. No, he did. And because I'll always ask him, how was Coach Brown? I always want to know historical stuff. How was he? I asked you about Coach Hayes, Dan Hayes, who's made our Highland Hall of Fame. And I've got to know just a little bit. And I know you're going to be there at the induction ceremony on next Saturday. And you and your brother, Danny, will be there. And so your dad was an amazing coach, an amazing father, amazing everything, amazing grandfather. So I'm glad his legacy lives on through that Papa Brown scholarship. And I definitely wanted to mention that. We have to let people know what's going on in the community. And that's something that's very good. Son, you got anything left?
No, Coach, just wanted to thank you for joining us tonight. Once again, congratulations on completing the 4-peat this season, and hope to make it out to the Ring of Fire next year to call some of your guys' games.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Coach, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
You guys have a great night. Thanks.
Okay, talk to you soon. Go ahead, Eric.
You're on mute, Eric. I'm not sure if you heard us. Yeah, Eric, you're muted. But while Eric gets the audio figured back out, man, Dad, that was great to have Greg Brown on. Recap Volcano Vista's season last year. Incredible accomplishment with the 4-peat. And this, just to hear him talk about Coach Eric Olin, I thought he brought some good stuff.
You know what, son? Derek, too. You guys are basketball junkies and about different offenses and the way things are played, and the pace and space. They're going to shoot a lot of threes. The ball movement, it's going to be Jacob Neff said this a couple of months ago. It's going to be 180 degrees different than the way New Mexico played this year. Not a lot of back to the basket, although they did recruit one of the big players. That's not what his system does. He's going to shoot threes on the front end. He's going to shoot threes on the back end. And you're going to have to be a player that knows how to read. Reads. He's going to trust his players. So I'm really looking forward to it after hearing what Coach Brown had to say about when we had heard that the pace and space, the European style ball. We had heard that. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I think again, it's a challenge when you change a coach. You change the whole roster. Not one player stayed. Not one. And this is off a team that made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. You're bringing in a new coach. You're bringing in new players. It's going to be a challenge. But I think after hearing what Coach Brown said, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, I'll add my 2 cents here, but I think the spacing is what a lot of these coaches, especially at that clinic that they just put on with the high school coaches association, that was the key takeaway, was the spacing. But in addition to the spacing, teaching these guys how to anticipate and keep moving without the ball. I think that's one of the key elements from the high school level, and then potentially moving at the collegiate level. A lot of high school coaches and a lot of high school teams run a lot of basic sets, right? A lot of screen down, a lot of flare outs. And there's different phases to it. If it's not there, then you go here. But within Coach Olin's office, he's almost teaching guys to just keep moving, keep a motion going. There's not really necessarily a set. And I think there's a few different options that you can choose off of based off what you can anticipate, how the defense is playing you, being able to identify certain tendencies within the defense. Are they trying to shield a certain way? Like how is this defender's feet set? And everything that I've kind of read on Olin, just basically on his time at San Diego, on that piece that I wrote too, was just teaching his players how to anticipate the mental aspects of the game, a constant flow, never really standing still. Because the dead stop of the basketball and players standing around is what kills the offense. Now, another key piece to this offense in having a lot of shooters shooting early in the shot clock, it's something that Coach Olin wants to do. He wants guys to shoot threes in transition, which traditionally could be looked at as a bad shot attempt, right? I think it kind of could cause some concern. But when this team is a little undersized, if you're running and gunning and you have an opportunity to take a three and you got shooters all over the floor, that might be the best look that you have down the court. So he's trying to emphasize taking your best looks, your best opportunities, get the ball moving, and never stop moving, especially when you're without the ball, because that's creating opportunities on the back doors, the slips. Keeping the defenders moving and keeping the defenders guessing is what they emphasize on. And I think that's kind of a key element from evolving high school players to start thinking one or two steps ahead in the transition of the offense, right? Because at the very basic level, freshman to junior JV, Nick, you coached high school basketball. You played high school basketball. A lot of these kids don't think that way. You almost have to strip it back into like a simple way to understand it. And you have to teach these phases into steps. But Olin is encouraging these guys, or almost forcing the guys to think ahead. Think one or two two passes ahead, just to kind of see what the tendencies are, see how the defense is moving, and then adjust from there.
No, I agree with everything you said, Eric, as well as my dad. I think it's read and react. The biggest thing that I got from Coach Brown, and I think Coach Olin has spoken on this as well, he does not want the ball to stop. The ball's got to move, whether you're passing the ball, driving to the basket, shooting the ball's got to move with energy. And, I know you put out a piece, Eric, that was really great. I think one of our first pieces on the Pit Press Plus. We'd encourage our readers to subscribe. I know, Eric, you can give some more information about that. But what will UNM's offense look like under Olin, published March 31st, shortly after Coach Olin was announced as UNM's head coach? We just broke down some clips from UC San Diego's season last year, and just kind of analyzed what they look like, what they mean from a basketball standpoint, and kind of, what you can expect this Lobo team to look like. And, Eric, I think we broke down some of the players when UNM had their open practice in mid-June. We should probably do that again sometime, and just get some clips together from the next 5 guys and just kind of talk about how they fit into Coach Eric Olin's schemes offensively, his style. Because I think kind of no matter who he's got personnel-wise, he's got an identity that he wants to teach. It was great to hear Volcano Vista head coach Greg Brown talk about what he learned from it. And, Dad, you can speak to this, man. There's probably no better pure basketball mind in New Mexico high school basketball than Greg Brown. There's many, but he knows the game very well and just broke it down on a deep level from what he learned from Coach Olin.
I think things have The other thing is this. Okay, so they're going to play 5 out. You know, they're not going to play with a lot of back to the basket, a lot of reading and react. So certain dudes that you would see last year not have the ball on the perimeter. You know, you didn't want to see maybe Nelly handle the ball out on the perimeter. All these players are going to be doing that in this system. So they have to be very fundamentally sound as far as passing, chest passing, pocket passes. They have to be very fundamental players. They may not be the best athletes, but I think the system he's run has worked for him. So I think the players he brought in are definitely going to fit in to the system he wants to run. Again, we mentioned that. I've watched a lot of coaches call a lot of sets, and Coach Bryant said there would be set plays. But this is a system that he believes in, that he wants his players to take control of and run the system that he's taught them. And it's going to be exciting. Now, if you like a lot of three-point shots, the Pitt's going to love that. They will miss their back to the basket guys, though. They like the Nellies. They like the Kenny Thomases. Mo Odaisy threw it in there. What was the percentage of points per possession? That's the other thing he talked about, points per possession. So, you know, they may miss that a little bit, but, you know, UNM is used to, Lobo fans are used to having a Luke Longley, Kenny Thomas, Mel Daniels. They like their big men in the paint. They do. But this is going to be a little bit different. And I think, according, you know, Nick, to what you said, and you as well, Eric, this game has changed, man. Even Eric, you won a championship in 2004 at Capitol. You know, Nick, you were part of a championship staff at St. Pius in 2013. The game is ever evolving and ever changing. We talked to Curtis Vigil, an official. It's changed on that level. Think about what Coach Brown said about the screens, where he brings them from, you know, from the perimeter on the wing. So they're, you know, David Chiotti talked to Dan Bachicha about ball screens, live actions, European style. So I think we're going to see a whole different style of basketball that's we haven't seen played here under any coach at university at the Pitt. We haven't seen it. So I think it's exciting because he's had success with it, and he believes in it, and he's willing to teach it. Not every Lobo coach has been as successful so far as Coach Olin has, and I think that's good. I really do.
I think that's a good point, Ed. The always changing, always evolving. I think with this team specifically too is the versatility, the length, the interchangeable pieces, right? I think you have a bunch of guys. I mean, you look and go down their roster, it's 6'6", 6'7", 6'9", another 6'9". You have 1 7-footer in JT Rock, but some of the highlights that we've seen of JT Rock, he's been out on the perimeter knocking down threes. So you talk about the constant motion, the never stop the ball moving, the screens coming from all different directions, the pick and pops, the opportunities built within that, the pick and pop into like a flare screen or even a slip for an easy layup. I think we're going to see a bunch of different things that we've not traditionally been known to seen at the Pitt. And then you have to add in some of the flair and how fast some of these guys are. Like we've seen at Utah State, Dane Albury, how he can basically flip the court upside down with his baseline to baseline, grab the rebound and get to the other side of the floor. And then you have the stretch guards, the Kevin Patton at 6'8", who plays like a guard, but he can also play the 1 through 3 and 4 in most chances. And then an extreme athlete like Antonio Chol, who's had a lot of success at the junior college level, started out at Rutgers, but these guys are all interchangeable pieces. And I think that's what Olin wasn't very intentional about doing, because he's going to figure out how to mold these guys together. And it just adds a different dynamic to this offense, because it's going to create a ton of mismatches on the defensive side for opponents, because they're not going to be able to pull their bigs out and defend the three, because it's going to open up the lane and you have guys that are just moving all over the floor.
Yeah, Eric, Dad, I think we're close to 100 days away from the start of Lobo basketball. UNM men's basketball today announced an exhibition game against Northern Arizona in the Pit to take place on October 30th. We're here on July 22nd, so that's around 100 days away. And then, Eric, I know UNM men's basketball is set to play in the Hall of Fame Classic in Kansas City, Missouri, November 20th and 21st. Lobos will take on Nebraska on November 20th. And then the following day, they'll play against Kansas State or Mississippi State. So I know Lobo fans are eagerly awaiting the announcement of the remaining parts of the schedule.
That'll be here before you know it. and people will be looking forward to that. But in the meantime, my concentration for me, and I want to, concentrate on Lobo football too, and see how they're going to do. But yeah, Lobo basketball, man, that will definitely be the talk of October 30th. And I would expect 10 to 11,000 fans there to see how they look. So that's 100 days away. You mentioned Nick, and that'll go real quick.
Yeah, well, I guess, Eric, it's about time to wrap this up. We want to thank everybody for joining us on the Pit Press Live. Thank you to Joana Magalhães and Alyssa Hargrove from UNM Women's Basketball, and also to 6-time state champion head coach Greg Brown from Volcano Vista. Check us out on Thursday. We're awaiting guest announcements. Once again, check us out online at thepitpressnm.com, on our YouTube page at the Pit Press NM, and also on social media at the same name. For Eric Moulton, Ed Nunez, I'm Nick Nunez. Thank you for tuning in on the Pit Press Live.